I'm Lauren Stovall. I am the Global Head of Nonprofit Programs at AWS, and I am so excited to be here, joined by Rick Whitted, the CEO of US Hunger. Let's give it up. But before he joins me on stage, I want to set said stage with a concept and idea that we both believe in, and it's one that's not always possible. It is possible. It is not always popular in the social sector. And that's that nonprofits are businesses. Yes, Wu is right. And I don't mean that in some kind of cold or transactional way. I mean it in a very serious and respectful way. And that's because nonprofits need to be durable and trust-driven enterprises because lives and the dignity and quality of that living quite seriously depends on it. And at AWS, we have seen what is possible when nonprofits are treated like serious business partners. They do and have done what organizations in any other industry, in any other sector, have not been able to do. They, for example, have been able to successfully and effectively combat child sexual abuse online. 12 million suspected images and counting since 2019. So that children can be free to be kids. We've seen them map the first ever draft of the human brain. What does that take? Mapping 10 million neurons and 26 billion synapses to be able to know exactly what goes wrong in diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, to precisely target interventions, and to be able to give people the gift of time. And in the case of US Hunger, to be able to translate lived experience into real actionable data in real time to intervene before a true crisis in a household and a family occurs. And so that's the conversation we are going to have today. How Rick and his amazing team at US Hunger have been able to, with the Data and Technology Project, connect the disconnected social services system to be able to ensure that families can rely on it, and they did it by, drum roll, thinking like a business. So with that, I am welcoming Rick Whitted to the stage so we can just get into it. Long time no see.
I know.
So we're going to do something revolutionary.
All right.
We're going to start at the beginning.
So
when we started talking and working with you, we didn't start with technology. We started with your mission and how it was evolving.
Yeah.
Can you share with us what that looked like?
Yeah, so we've been around for 15 years, almost 16 years now. In the first 10 years, we moved a lot of food. And we were proud to say 150 million meals, 54 countries. We were so excited. And then the pandemic hit, and our ability to do what we do froze for 2 years. And it just made us start asking very different questions. We could tell you how much we provided an impact. We could tell you where we provided food, and we realized we kind of stopped at the who. Who did we help? And why did they need help? And we realized at that moment, we had no real insight at the household level, and quickly began to see at that time that this food problem was a data insight problem, because we've been doing it for decades as a country and as a world, but really not really seeming to stymie the problem. So.
Right, and you realize ultimately food insecurity or even nutritional insecurity was a symptom of a bigger problem, and that households were dealing with a fluctuating set of needs that were kind of concurrent and volatile.
Absolutely. I like to say it this way. The most flexible of social determinants is food.
Yes.
Like I can go from, beans, from steak to chicken to sloppy joe to beans and rice. I can't do that with my mortgage. I can't do that with transportation. I can't do that with utilities. So by the time someone is dealing with food or nutritional insecurity, they're already in crisis or on their way very quickly to crisis. So if you don't start upstream from there, understanding why is that happening, then you're solving yesterday's problems tomorrow. And that's what we saw.
And so what that led you all to is starting to think about where technology came into play,
Yeah.
and well, data, and then
Yeah,
ultimately
yeah.
technology to be able to understand that data, to be able to start looking at this far more holistically.
We did, and it did a couple of things. Technology in
Yeah.
general, it did a couple of things. One, we realized we could scale.
Yeah.
We could engage, and immediately we saw that we were not a food distribution organization. We were a trusted front door to the community,
Yes.
right? And we could engage and talk to individuals. Secondly, we saw that technology provided something that's critical if you're going to have insight into very personal, often
Yes.
shameful lived experiences, and it was discretion. And there was this combination of being a trusted community-based organization and the discretion of being able to share privately what's going on. We began to see the entire lived experience. Today we ask more than 50 questions in about 12 minutes, very conversational, and then we give them space to share their story and is how many words they want to share. And the insight is just incredible.
And so the culmination of this is through a platform called Full Cart
Full
Connect.
Cart Connect.
TM, nobody can have it.
Yes.
But it's called Full Cart Connect. Now, kind of in its instantiation, what is it, what's it intended to do, and where are you in the scale?
Yeah, so, Full Cart Connect really is infrastructure, right? We like to say community is infrastructure. And so it is a platform that's designed to provide a digital front door to the communities we serve. What does that do? That means that individuals can engage with us at scale. I don't have to hire additional FTE for that, another great benefit of technology. And we are getting insight in real time, lived experience of what's going on. Now, the real magic is what my CTO and their team does. We take that data, we take those survey responses, we take the narratives, and using AI and other things, not humans entering the AI loop, but AI entering the human loop.
Absolutely.
To augment what we've learned over the last 15 years, how to do well. And we map those stories into actionable intelligence that systems can use, that healthcare can use, that government can use. And we do that in the form of Z codes, SNOMED, low-inc, other codes that are visible to the system. And until that insight is visible to the system, you really just have anecdotes being
Sure.
passed off as data. And we were really trying to solve that problem, and the pandemic created a gift that allowed us to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other, I think, insight here and how we kick this off, and as the apropos name of the session, is that there's a reason that you all were able to go down this path as well, which was a mindset perspective.
Yeah.
And that's that nonprofits are businesses in the business of doing good.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you all in terms of having that business mindset?
Well, for us, it starts with a basic question.
Yeah.
How does my mission solve a marketplace problem? The market knows how to solve problems. Better than that, the market knows how to secure a contract for solving that problem, hence sustainability.
Sure.
And so we will go into something asking the question, what problem does this solve in the marketplace? Is there a place for this, right? At that time, the loudest conversation was healthcare. They were very loud in the conversation around how does social drivers, how do we solve those problems so that we can close care gaps clinically, right? And so how do we bridge social care and healthcare together? At that time, that was the conversation we heard. So we set about going to every healthcare conference we could and educating ourselves. And what we quickly realized that the conversation wasn't about how do we feed them. The conversation was, we can't reach them. They don't even trust us. And we said, well, they trust us. You know, if you agree to help them, we can work with you and figure out how to do that. And so pretty quickly we realized that what we were was an engagement solution to healthcare. So the conversation was literally the work we do. We feed people. Our mission is feeding families today and uniting them to a healthier tomorrow. We don't stop doing that. We just talked about it in marketplace language, which was, we can help you. We can engage members for you. If you can feed them, we can help you understand why they're even hungry, and we can help you understand other things that you already provide. You know, the kid has asthma and they have a program to remediate asthma in the home, but if they don't trust them, they're not talking to them, they don't know that, so the kid's problem exacerbates.
Sure.
And they felt good about giving them food.
Yeah.
But it didn't solve the problem. And so we're really trying to take that root cause approach. The households will tell you what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we just learned to like step back, kind of not be unintentionally condescending, which we were. We were answering questions for them, never having spoken to them.
Yeah.
And I think that was the greatest insight that we had as an organization. It was really stepping back and going, you know, for example, you know, we were working with the city of Orlando in a program, and of course, right, you know, put eggplant in the box, and it's like, well, are they really gonna? So we're asking the families, and we said to one very courageous mom, you know, is there anything we can help you do with the food? Immediately the mom was like, don't try me like that, I know how to cook. I know how to go on Google and find a recipe. And like, it's funny, but it's like, note to self.
Made an assumption.
I really had been making an assumption. I didn't mean to.
Of course.
But we had. And so I think that's the power of household level insight, understanding what really is going on. And there's been some fascinating things we've learned in that.
And so for nonprofits that are looking at this conversation, hearing this conversation and thinking, what can we expect to see if we start leaning into this business-driven mindset? We've talked a little bit about once you start getting a taste for knowing where your data is and what it can do for you, this thirst for knowledge and opportunity starts to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think when you think about the best brands in the world, just set everything else aside, nonprofit, for-profit. When you think about the best run organizations in the world, there's one thing that I've learned that they do. They don't make a good decision. They don't make a bad decision. They make a data-driven decision. And oftentimes, particularly our organizations, for years, we made very good intention decisions. We made what we thought were good intentions. We even made bad decisions, right? You know, and once that data started mapping in, once we precisely looked at every place into any interaction occurs in our organization, we realized that was a data point. And once we started collecting that data and paying attention to it, and then once we started hearing directly from the individuals themselves that we were serving, we were able to become more informed. And this food organization, this organization that has hunger in its name, realized hunger was not the issue, that there was a much deeper systemic economic issue driving what was happening, and those households told us directly. We've screened more than 300,000 people since 2020, and they've told us what's going on.
Yeah, no, and the scale is only growing, right?
Yeah,
So Full Car Connect, you're looking at expanding nationally.
We are. We're already out there nationally.
Yeah.
We have finally secured our first health plan contract, so we will be delivering services for Medicaid and some Medicare families in a state. You'll hear that announced soon, and that's taken us a year and a half.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. We're announcing
implement.
it soon.
Yeah, and that's fantastic because that really is our first proof point to say, wow, if you can deliver a service as a trusted community organization and secure contractual revenue from that, which we have, then you've kind of answered the sustainability quagmire that we all find ourselves in as community-based organizations. So we're really excited about that.
So are we.
Yeah.
And as one closing point for everyone, something you mentioned as we were talking is this kind of unintentional condescension.
Yeah.
And I think to close, there's another part of this besides the mindset shift and the investment opportunity for scale and technology, which is the raising of standards.
Yeah.
Which is both, we've talked about meaning nonprofits, how they perceive themselves and what they're capable of, how partners, strategic partners see nonprofits and what they're capable of, and funders and what they think nonprofits are capable of. How many of you here have worked for an organization that funds nonprofits in some way? By a raise of hands. I'm raising my hand, we also do. I'm not showing you how to raise your hand. Perfect. Okay, so the thing is, You all probably know that grant mechanisms, funding mechanisms, often define how nonprofits should solve problems.
Yeah.
And the standard is relatively low in the sense of normally technology isn't even mentioned or even prioritized on those grants because there is a belief that nonprofits shouldn't be expected to do that, to raise to that standard, to innovate with technology. And so I would love in kind of your closing thoughts between the three pillars we've talked about: thinking like a business, being able to look at systems change and data in new ways, and the unintentional condescension. How does this all kind of come together as a final thought for how we can see catalytic change?
Yeah, you know, the funding rules really set the standard, right? Yeah, we're only about 5% grant funded. We look for contract-based ways. One of the reasons we do that is because as we examine contracts, we kind of realize pretty quickly, I'm going to add about 45 KPIs that really take me off mission scope. Do I want to do that? And I don't. I want to be really good at the solve we're really, really good at. And I think when we say an organization could never do that, we create a ceiling for those organizations. And like us, nonprofits and social impact organizations will rise to the level that you require. They're some of the most innovative creatures in the whole planet. And when you say, here's the rules, they're going to follow those rules to get accomplished. And I think what tends to happen is that a lot of the grant direction today is very operationally focused, which, think about a business, well, that's transactions.
Yeah.
And the best brands are engagement brands. And no one can do that better than trusted brokers in the community, the CBOs. So I challenge each of you funders out there, really raise the standard and then help invest in that. Don't just raise it, like raise it and invest, in infrastructure that allows them to scale. Until we do that, what you're funding will cost them a lot more because it's manual. And we have grown more than 800% over the last 4 or 5 years. Our FTE has grown only about 15% because of technology and infrastructure.
Snaps is right.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Rick Whitted, everyone.
Thanks
Can
for
we
having
give
me.
a huge shout out for him and his team? Thank you, Rick.